Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here once again. I know I promised I wouldn't do any more videos until I was completely better, but this movie was so bad that I can't even help it. Because I do have COVID. It's the third day now of getting rid of it, so and it is going away. It's just a little annoying and irritating, and I was like, when I'm fully better, I'm gonna do a video where I review all the movies that I watched while I was sitting there resting and recovering. And I was like, oh, I'd like to watch this, because even though I knew in the back of my mind it was probably going to be complete trash, I thought, maybe this will be a nice movie to watch. Maybe it'll be a nice little thing. And I turned it on, and I was like, wow. I was like, I was so shocked and so appalled by the thing that I was seeing that I was like, you know what, I don't care if doing this review causes me to go into cardiac arrest. I don't care if doing this review somehow causes a lightning bolt to strike me in the middle of doing it. I don't care. I will literally I will do this review because this movie was so bad that it demands my attention. I grew up loving the original Snow Day movie, and I treasure it. I can't remember if I fucking got rid of the fucking VHS when we were throwing everything away for no reason when we were moving. I hope I didn't, because I'll be fucking pissed off, and I'll fucking buy a new copy right fucking now. That's how fucking pissed off I am, because this fucking movie, and I gotta lower my voice now, because I am going to go into an attack, a rage mode at this fucking piece of shit movie. This remake of Snow Day, one of the greatest Christmas movies of all time. I mean, what's not to love? You got Chevy Chase, and he's up to his usual racist antics, and you got you got and then you got the Snowplow Man, and he's this creepy guy, and there's this part where he goes up to the fat kid when he's pretending to be dead or injured, and he goes up to him and fucking dips fries in the ketchup on his chest and eats it, and you and you got the sequence with fucking the main guy, Hal, and he's got the Crush's bracelet, and he's wearing it on his ankle, and he's he's practically cooming while thinking about fucking his love interest. And by the way, if anyone doesn't notice, in the original movie, they purposefully named her Claire Bonner, because then you can make a nickname, Claire Boner, and that's exactly what I called her when I was a kid, and she was one of my childhood crushes. So I would watch this movie and I'd be like, yep, there's Claire Boner, and oh god, I just used a fucking WandaVision level joke. Oh fuck. But it's a classic movie. It's an American classic. It's a masterpiece. It's a it's a grilled cheese wrapped up in another grilled cheese, wrapped up in another grilled cheese, wrapped up in another grilled cheese sandwich, kissed by God. That's what the original Snow Day is. It is the perfect fucking movie. And of course they had to ruin it by making it into a musical. I was just about to cough. They made it into a musical. And see, I just got off of watching La La Land yesterday, which I thought was really good. And I thought it was a solid movie, even though you can tell they're starting to overrate this director, and he's getting full of himself, and he's doing too much, and he needs to pull back and make something smarter and non-musical related. And so that, wait, what was I gonna say about that? Is this the brain fog that they're talking about? I don't even know. Oh wait, yeah, I do. This is exactly what I hate about musicals. If you had to, say, Marco, why don't you like musicals? What's the deal with, you like these horrible things. You like movies where people get raped, and you and you like movies where people get their heads chopped off, and you like these movies where there's bazooka. Wait, what was I gonna say about a bazooka? There's a machine gun shooting guy, and he's like killing bad guys and stuff. Like, you love all these horrible things, but you don't like musicals, and there's like just some sort of like a problem with, like, oh, I don't like that type of movie, so therefore I'm canceled. And this is why I despise musicals, because this shouldn't have been a musical unless they changed the entire plot. Because this did what the Child's Play remake did, which the Child's Play remake was better than this. This took the original movie, cut out amazing stuff that happened. For instance, there's no part where the little fat brother shoves his fist in his mouth and he's like, and he's just like in the background, like banging his head against the wall and stuff. And then there's that part where there's the running joke with the principal, and they just hate the principal so much they keep on massacring him with snowballs. There's the part with the talking action figures. I mean, there's just so much stuff to love in the original Snow Day movie. Like, I could write an essay about why Snow Day is a masterpiece and why this movie is trash. Like, I went in... I went into this movie with rock bottom expectations. I just wanted to be entertained. I just wanted to, have a laugh, watch something, go, oh, I didn't like that, but I like that. But instead, I was sitting here groaning in pain, like I was getting, fisted by a fucking snowplow, and fucking, I was like, oh, ooh, oh, like I was in pain watching this movie. It was like, this, like, it would have been fine if either this was an original movie, non-Snow Day related, or if it was a spin-off, like, how they had the American Pie movies, and then they had American Pie Band Camp, American Pie The Naked Mile, American Pie Beta House, American Pie Book of Love, American Pie Girls Rules, even though we don't talk about that one, or Book of Love, or Beta House, Animal House ripoff. That's what this movie could have been. They could have had some great cameos from the original movie. They could have brought back Claire Boner and have her in a scene with the new Claire Bonner, and that would have been awesome. They could have had something cool like that. They could have even had the brother, which, let's see what the brother looks like now. What is that fucking shithead Hal? What does he look like as a grown up? Because I remember, like, in the original movie, I just wanted to punch him in the face. Like, he was a really likable protagonist, but he's just like one of those guys who just has like a face that you could punch with like a fucking Hulk fist. You know those Hulk fists? Oh yeah, this is the guy. Wasn't he in let's oh, he was in, he's a great actor. Yeah, I know he's a great, okay. Yeah, like, they could have had him play the Snowplow Man now. Like, that would have been a kind of cool twist. He's a great actor, and he doesn't have a punchable face anymore. He just looks like a normal guy. And, he could have totally done the role. But, the main issue with this movie, besides the fact that it seems like there were a couple little weird agendas going on, but those are kind of like the least of this movie's problems, so I don't want to emphasize those as if like they're the main issues of the movie, because I know that, with a lot of movies I usually talk about agendas first, but those were kind of just like at the back of my mind watching this movie. Like, I wrote notes about everything. So I knew exactly what to talk about. So the main problem, though, is the fact that, just like with Child's Play Remake, it's a confusing mixture of, does this movie want to do something new and different, versus does this movie want to copy the original in a really pathetic way? Because there's so many times in this movie where they copied dialogue from the original movie, and they copied these little scenes out of context, and they were just kind of cringeworthy, because these are different actors. It's a shitty modern 2022 thing, so it's not going to be like the original, unfortunately. And it just felt like, why even try to replicate the original when you're too scared to make the original now? Why even do that? Because you could have just done something new. You could have had some cute tie-ins to the original, and then you could have called it Snow Day, the final snowdown or something. Like, you shouldn't have made this like partly trying to be the original, because then I will get to compare it to the original and kind of like laugh at you. So I really didn't like it. There were a couple of things that I liked, though. I liked some of the actors a little bit. I thought that I'm already worn out from doing this review. I thought some of the actors, as like the younger actors, were pretty good. Like, I think that it was just weird, though, because with the younger actors, they all seemed like miscast. Like, even the older actors, I felt like the guy playing the dad, who is the guy who was in The Office as Holly's boyfriend, as well as he was in I Love You Man, is the fucking co-worker who's sitting there watching dirty videos on his computer. That guy was pretty funny in that movie. He's a funny guy, and I really think he could have played the Snowplow Man better than the guy who played the Snowplow Man played the Snowplow Man. The guy who played the Snowplow Man, he looked like Kim Knapsack from Schmoes Know. He should have played the dad instead, and the dad should have played Snowplow Man. The mom was kind of weird. She wasn't like the mom from the original, but then again, I don't think that there is anyone like the actress from the original. You know, a lot of these actors too from the original, they're so unique, and they're so like irreplaceable. Like, people talk about, like, there's nobody else who can play Superman except for Henry Cavill. Well, to me, there's nobody else who can play Snow Day cast except for the Snow Day cast of the original movie. What's that? What does that say? Never mind. So, anyways, sorry, I just got distracted because, you know, that app where I was doing videos on, it keeps on sending me these irritating notifications. And so now I just got notified like 3 times. And it's like, God, leave me alone. Seriously, like, just leave me alone sometimes. But then, like, the main brother, the Hal, and I hesitate to call him Hal because he's hardly anything like Hal from the original movie. The Hal from the original movie would have stepped on this guy's face and called him an idiot. I mean, that's what he would have thought of Hal in this movie. You know, he has this, like, weaselly face. Like, he kind of looks like the bully from A Christmas Story, even though I've never seen that movie. I have seen pictures of him and just pictures of the movie, and for some reason, like, he automatically reminded me of that character. And then the guy who plays Chuck, the jock boyfriend, he could have played the brother Hal better because, you know, he's tall like Hal from the first movie, and he has dark hair just like his younger sister does in the movie. And then the girl who plays Claire, she could have played Lane better than the girl who played Lane. And the girl who played Lane could have played Claire better than the girl who played Claire. And so there was this, like, weird, purposeful miscasting thing going on where it was like, to subvert your expectations, people are going to play characters who they don't fit. Like, it was almost like they were like, yeah, like, I don't know what that was like. Like, hey guys, we're going to have a fun game today on set. Before we start shooting this cash grab movie, let's play a game called musical casting. And so when I play one of the shitty ass fucking auto-tune songs in the movie, we're gonna all switch characters, and whichever character we land on is the character who can play in the final movie. And then all of a sudden, like, just, it went crazy. All the kids got drunk. They took drugs, and everyone on the movie, they all took drugs and got drunk. It was a drunken haze. It was a crazy ride. And then all of a sudden, they woke up the next day, and they were all sitting in the chairs of the characters that they were supposed to play. And they were all sick, and they're all like, oh no, we should not have done that, because now we have to stay with those characters. We can't just, you know, play the characters we should have played. No, we gotta stay with these characters now. We gotta commit. That was what this movie was like. Like, So, I wrote a plethora of notes for this movie. In general, like, it wasn't the worst movie of the year, but it was on its way. You know, there were about 30 movies this year that I gave, like, all Fs. Like, I would give this movie an F simply because it tried so hard replicating the original while also doing something quote unquote original, and there was no reason for it to be a musical. And that was another thing that I was disappointed about, because I thought, you know what, like, if they made a fun snow day musical for kids, I'd be fine with it. But instead, it just felt like completely unnecessary. Like, from the opening scene, where they're showing, like, the kids a year ago, and the whole point of showing the kids a year ago is that they're showing them celebrating that they're having a snow day that year, and they do this shitty dance called the Snow Day Dance or something, and they just, like, wiggle around, and their voices are auto-tuned because they can't sing, and it's just terrible music that just makes you want to stab your ears out. Or in my case, you know, since I have COVID, I could just stick my fingers in my ears and give myself an ear infection so I wouldn't have to hear this shit anymore. And that is honestly, that was tempting. Like, there was one point in the movie where I stuck my finger, like, right next to my ear, and I was like, you know, I'm tempted. I'm close to ending the suffering and pain. So, let's get on with the notes. Because I'm mad. First off, and now I will talk about agendas a little bit now, because I was writing the notes while watching the movie, so I wasn't able to order the notes in terms of importance. I'm going to take a little drink. Ugh. My taste is a little bit affected, so this water tastes like a bad water, because it's a pretty bad water, but it's not that bad. It's just okay. So first, they erased 2 redheads in this movie. I mean, I swear to God, they legitimately have a vendetta against redheads in every level of Hollywood. And so, remember the sister in the original movie, and how she was a redhead, and she was she had red hair, and remember Lane, and how Lane had red hair? Well, they don't have red hair anymore. The Lane is now Mexican, and she's not a redhead anymore. And the sister now has black hair, and they ruined the sister character as well. But both those actors did an okay job, though. So, that was kind of like one of the lesser problems. But I just thought it was so funny that, like, this shitty little cash grab fucking movie, how much was it made for? Like $1? Like $1 and some Grubhub for Chipotle or something, or Chick-fil-A for all the actors and stuff, or just probably the main cast. The lesser actors probably had to eat snow that was flavored with wee. Like they say, don't eat the yellow snow unless you're a smaller character in the Snow Day remake. That, like, just imagine, like, just this movie. Another thing was the fact that, before we get back to the point that I was trying to make earlier, this movie, I thought, if it's a musical, there's got to be some good reasons for it to be a musical. I want to see some interesting musical segments. I want to see the mom swimming with the sharks in a dream sequence. I want to see the action figures dancing with the sister. I want to see excuse me, I want to see, some interesting creative segments. But instead, their idea of a musical segment in this movie is the people just kind of wiggling their arms around while they lip sync to auto-tune shitty music. There's really nothing about these sequences that really speaks to, why this had to be a musical. So that really felt like a disappointment. I was like, you know what? Fucking some random high school in Idaho could make a better musical out of Snow Day than the people who made this movie. There could have been so much creativity. You just have the budget of a school play. Could have had all the same actors. Could have probably had the same director, even though he's not a high school theater teacher. And this could have been a fun musical that you go, oh, that's good. It's not the original, but it's good. But instead, you go, ugh, at this movie. And another thing is that Lane is Hal's only friend in the movie. Whereas in the first movie, he had other friends, and it felt like this weird thing of why doesn't he have those other friends? I get that they were hardly in the movie, and they were just kind of like wallpaper, but it felt really weirdly like Agenda-y, because then they have it where he basically relies on Lane, his friend, to do everything for him. She's gotta tell him what to do. She's gotta change his diaper. She's gotta tie his shoes for him. She's gotta do everything for him, like he's a little child. And he doesn't have any other friends, and it's really, really weird. It's really bizarre. It's kind of like a cutesy, I guess, like a teenage girl's fantasy of what you would want in a guy nowadays, which honestly it is kind of a realistic representation of what the guys are like nowadays, unfortunately. And they have a blizzard too, because the brother and sister do a really gay snow dance. That's another thing too. Is that there's a little hint of magic that's implied, but it's not really followed through on. And then the little sister is a hacker. And that's another thing. They turn this great character into a typical know-it-all girl character in a modern movie or show, where she's a hacker, she can do everything, she knows everything. They ruined her character from the original. And she does really weird things, she changes the emergency contact for her brother to her instead. And it felt like, you know what? This more so, the whole movie, in fact, surprisingly, felt more like a Ferris Bueller's Day Off movie than a Snow Day movie. Because, the thing with that, changing the emergency contact, it felt like a thing that Ferris Bueller would do. And so, the little sister did some other weird things. She blackmails all the teachers in school, except for one who she can't find anything on. And her whole motivation for having a snow day isn't to have fun. It's to get off from taking the math test from a teacher who she can't blackmail. So instead of just, she wants to have a snow day like normal kids, she needs to get off from doing a test because she doesn't want to be in winter school. And then instead of the love interest breaking up with the jock 3/4 of the way through the movie, she breaks up with him the first scene they're on screen together. And there's this, as I said, this weird mashup where they have this terrible musical sequence called Cake, which was kind of weirdly inappropriate for this movie. And then right after that original stupid thing, all of a sudden they're copying a scene out of the first movie, even though that scene happens later on in the film in a completely different setting. And they keep on doing that over and over again to the point of where it just made me want to facepalm. The dad is not a weatherman anymore. And the mom did not have a plan to go swim with sharks. There is a good little idea where the little brother, in order to get his parents' attention, he of course has to take all of their electronic devices away, since nowadays, they could just do all their work at home. And so I thought that was kind of like, oh, that's something. But then the rest of the movie, just to talk about that little subplot, in the original, that was such a great subplot. Like, it was so funny when she's like telling him that she bought him like a paint set and he can have it even though it was supposed to be a Christmas present. And then he goes and gets it and he puts paint all over himself. And then he's running around with like barely any clothes on, and he's like, and his mom is just like, what the fuck? Like, that was one of the funnier things in the movie, was like, the mom was like, what the fuck is wrong with this kid that I had? Like, he is just so weird and so insane that, like, I don't even know where he came from. And like, she had to chase him, of course, and it was a great subplot. It was a highlight of the movie, even though it really had no importance to the plot. Well, this movie makes that subplot even less relevant by having most of the subplot just be about, he wants them to start off the day by cooking him the perfect pancake. And so then they're spending all day cooking pancakes. And they just, for some reason, they can't make a perfect one. And to be fair, it is way better than the pancake scene in another movie that I reviewed this year, where there was like this scene where a guy is in a house and he hasn't eaten in a week, and he's like, ooh, I want to have pancakes. I don't want to have something of substance. I want to make a little miniature chocolate chip pancake right now with only 4 chocolate chips, because that's the amount I put in my kid's pancake. Okay, we're not going to talk about that anymore. But that was like the whole subplot, this movie. And then he runs outside because he handcuffed them too. That was another hilarious thing, was the fact that, they messed up with this movie. Like, they had some good ingredients to make a funny movie. I got kind of a couple of chuckles, and one of them was when he handcuffed them. And the parents in this movie, they were acting like so incredibly nice to him. Like, they're just like, they were like kowtowing to every one of his demands. Like, they couldn't go to the bathroom. They couldn't do anything except make pancakes all day. Like a torture session. And they just went along with it. Like, it was so bizarrely funny in a weird way. Like, why are they playing along like it and then it doesn't really go anywhere. So it could have been really a skit. It could have just been a little SNL skit, honestly. And then how a lot of his intelligence is taken away so that Lane can have the good ideas and give them to him. And so, you know, like how in the original he had the idea to do the thing at the ice rink where he did the thing in the toilets and it distracted that weird looking old guy, and then he spoke on the speaker, you know, like just so many memorable scenes from the first movie. Well, in this movie there's also like this little line where he just, and keep in mind, they took the diner from the original movie, which, let's look up, can we see a picture of that diner? Because that diner was so, like, weirdly nostalgic. Like, it was so, like, cool. Like, I just wanted to go inside of that diner when I watched the movie. I don't see it. Well, whatever, it was a lot better than this diner, that's for sure. I mean, I guess they tried. You know, it had like a lot of French fries, and people would just kind of like build houses out of French fries, and it seemed like a really cool hangout spot. Like, that would be the kind of spot that I would want to hang out in. Like, even now as an adult, I want to go there and just, like, you know, if I was ever down, I would just go there and sit in the corner and eat a French fry dipped in special sauces. But this movie makes the diner into a milkshake 1950s nostalgia diner, and that was another weird thing. And you know, that was fine. You know, that was one of the things where I was like, okay, I guess, but then the Lane, she says, like, you're really lucky that you have a girl best friend, as if, like, if she had any guy friends that they wouldn't know, like, what to do, like, if they wouldn't suggest any good ideas, which, honestly, it is kind of a good point, but it was weird how, you know, he didn't have any other friends except for Lane. And it was also weird since in the first movie, she was in the diner with him. Yeah, you're not going to catch me making a mistake. My original Snow Day trivia. And then, you know, instead of carving a giant message in the snow for her, he wants to hold a shitty little paper sign that looks like it was made by a 3-year-old in front of her house. You know, like, legitimately, like, unironically, this 15 to 16-year-old, he acts like a 10-year-old. And he wants to hold up this paper sign for her. And it's like colored like it was done by a teenage Forrest Gump. And I bet Forrest Gump would do a better job than that, because he probably would be like, yeah, this is trash. And then he'd throw it to the side, and he'd start again. And he'd just keep on starting until he had the perfect poster. But Hal from Snow Day 2022, he's going to make this shit. So, the Snowplow Man is one of the worst. In fact, I will say, I know he's like from a Drake and Josh or something, and I'm not blaming the actor, but the Snowplow Man was the worst part of the whole movie. He was not an intimidating villain. They turned him into some sort of like a robotics genius or like an inventor, and so instead of Trudy being a real bird, it was like they didn't have the budget to get to buy a real bird at the pet store, and so they had to come up with this stupid story where he made a mechanical bird, and it's an AI bird, and it talks to him, and that's just, wow. and he programmed it himself. And there's this whole like cringeworthy, lame thing with like how he, he's the typical like middle-aged man baby, or he's like, he has a relationship, like a very close one with his mom. He's like a mama's boy, and he has like these weird little embarrassing things that he does secretly, like he sleeps with dolls and stuff like that. He's such a paper-thin character in this movie. In the original movie, he wasn't a full character, but he was a scary villain. And I was actually kind of scared of him when I watched the original movie as a kid. Like, yeah, I would look at the cover and just be like, ooh, that guy's, ugh. He looks like he runs a pedophile ring or something. Like, he looks like a really scary guy, and you would not want to mess with him. The guy in this movie, he just looks like a delivery man or something. He looks so nonchalant, and he sings, and they have this whole musical sequence with him, which made me want to throw up, as did all the musical sequences. He also, and there's another weird joke where he picks up a snowball that the kids threw at him, and he smells it, and then he says, "Kids," as if he can smell the scent of children, which is really creepy. But was this made by Disney? Because that's something I'd expect Disney to put in their movies. No, it was Paramount Plus. Well, I expected better. Paramount Plus. It's like he can smell kids. I don't know. That was weird. It was a weird joke. There was like, the thing is that like a lot of these jokes, people would say you're overreacting. It's a kids movie. The jokes in the original movie were so much smarter than this. They were so much more like well thought out. They made sense. There was even that little throwaway joke in the dinner sequence where they're eating tomato soup and grilled cheese, which is why I would rate that movie grilled cheese. And the little fat brother like spits out the soup, and he's just being a complete annoyance at the table. Like, he was like a kid from hell. It was so funny. Like, that made sense. They're setting up his character. They're warning you, this kid, he's bad news. He's so bad. He's such bad news. He even makes Chevy Chase turn his face a little bit, which should tell you something, because, And then there's this weird part where the main guy says how he says, I'm going to get into Claire's house one way. And so he breaks into, and I'm not kidding, like, they don't show it, but somehow he like breaks into the house of one of her friends, as if this is like something to look up to. Like, this guy, he broke into her house. He's in her bedroom. Like, like, I don't know how much creepier you could get. Like, I don't know if this was written by the people who wrote Twilight or something. It would be acceptable in that universe, but he and it's sort of like a substitute for the ice rink sequence where he uses the speaker while the ice rink guy, the DJ, is distracted in the bathroom. And he uses this other girl's live Instagram video or something, because she's like an influencer, and somehow he knew that this was the exact time that she'd be doing these live videos, and that it would be, and also that girl would be watching. Because another thing is that Chuck, he came back to her and she accepted him, all because he tears up some football game tickets which should tell you all you need to know about the Claire Bonner in this movie. Complete trash in comparison to the Claire Bonner from the original. And she just lets him back in. And to be fair, I didn't like that in the original movie either. But, you'd think that she'd be busy, like, interacting with him, talking to him, Why would she be sitting in her bedroom watching this Instagram live video where she could just watch that on replay later on? It was very presumptuous and convenient. And then the main guy, Hal, I'm sorry, but there was some kind of weirdly, like, gay parts in this movie. They went out of their way to have these weird gay moments. Like, there's this part where Hal, he says, "I can't deny it anymore. The jock Chuck, he's a snack. I can't deny it anymore." And it's like, oh my God. Like, I just can't believe it. Like, I swear, do you guys see what I mean now? How the original Hal would be giving this guy an atomic wedgie or something. Like, this was bad. I mean, I felt bad for the actor who had to play Hal in this movie just for the fact that he had to say that line. It is so weird. It's so like, like you could tell that a girl wrote that line, or like a weird guy who can't write. Either way, it's really bad. The kids, you want to know how they stopped the snowplow man? They rush through the whole plot where they take Trudy hostage, and they do this kind of shitty version of that. And then they do the hostage handoff. But then they cut the brakes to the snowplow man's snowplow. And then they jump out of the moving snowplow and let the snowplow man drive into a sinkhole and die. Why? Why did they do that? And if he didn't die, they never showed him after that scene. He's crashed into the sinkhole, and then they just cut away, never show him again. In general, there's kind of like this ongoing thing in the movie where the girls are a lot smarter than the guy characters, to the point of where it's noticeable in comparison to the first movie, and to where they even say that out loud near the end of the movie. They say girls are so much smarter than guys, and it's like, ugh! Like, why are they doing that? Like, why are you putting that in the movie? You didn't have to do that. It was stupid. It was unnecessary. This whole movie was unnecessary. And so, you know what? You know what I'm going to rate this movie? That was a safe cough. I'm going to rate this movie. And by the way, I'm not going out in public, just so you know, because I know I sound terrible, but I promise I'm not going anywhere. I'm just staying here. But I would rate this movie. You know what? There was this one time where we got organic tomato soup, and it was so gross, I didn't even eat it. Like, when you give a guy who's overweight food and he doesn't eat it, it's a pretty bad sign. It's pretty telling that the food is trash. And I was so uninterested. I refused to eat it, and I took one bite, and I was like, ooh, I'm not eating this. But it was unnecessary. Why would you want, like, even if it is organic, it doesn't taste any good. It's the same thing with like diet foods or just, like foods that have these cliches to or gimmicks to them. If they don't taste good, nobody's going to eat them. Like, the Impossible Burger at Burger King, which somehow is worse than anything on Burger King's menu, even though everything at Burger King is already the worst thing on the Burger King menu. Like, that's what this movie was. It was so unnecessary. The people who made it, I don't know if they didn't have any control and they just got hired as like, fill in the blank people because the executives decided we need to make a Snow Day musical really fast. It's going to be good content for the kids. I don't know if it was like that or people came in and pitched it, because if people came in and pitched it and they had control, they should have come up with like a better way to do this. I think anyone could have, given like a weekend. Like this was really a poor thing compared to the first movie. Like this movie was content for sure in a bad way. So please like this video, comment, and tell me what you thought of Snow Day 2022. And please subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more COVID-infected reviews, COVID-infected rants. Tomorrow, maybe I will watch another movie. Hopefully it will not be bad to where I rant for an entire hour, because now I just feel like an idiot. So goodbye everybody, see you soon.